the grind, getting set up for the Saturday session. We have a whole slate of speakers that are going to be building relationship in life and going deep into God's Word together. And we're just really privileged to be able to get together like this, and thankful that Kyle Brush and his family are providing all of this this setting, this awesome setting, of just being able to connect with people, and we're looking forward to a great day.
Awesome. Did everybody have a good cold night rest?
It's pretty cold. I think it's so cold that even Mike Steinkamp wore shoes today. That's how cold it is. All right, Steve.
Better? Way better. But let's just thank Kyle Rush and Molly and the Brush family. Tremendous hospitality for what they were able to have for us today and this whole weekend. So this morning we got a full slate of speakers that are ready to bring encouragement to us. First, I'd like to share the opening to just give you a little bit about the heart behind this weekend. And if you want to turn, most of you should have some Bibles in there, if not, pop it up on your phones. But let's pop open on Hebrews 10, verse 25. Second. So today I want to talk about encouragement. Hebrews 10:25 says, "Not neglecting to meet together, as some people do, but encourage one another, and all the more as the day of his return draws near." So I want to share a little bit of a story. In 2015, believe it or not, I committed to running the Chicago Marathon. And I know next weekend Matt Ramiller is running the Chicago Marathon, so he'll be doing that as well. But when I registered to do that through our church and with World Vision, I did all the fundraising, I did all my training just completely alone. There was a forest preserve nearby, and I did all of my running. I followed a training regimen I found online. Never consulted anybody. I never ran that far ever. And I just kind of followed the steps and went through this alone. But it was tons of hours. It was tons of hours away from my family. It was painful at times, but I committed to it. And on that exact October morning, it was really cold, kind of like this October morning, and I'm in Chicago, and I kind of found myself just alone and wishing that I was a little bit more connected. Maybe some of you are feeling that way today, a little cold physically, but a little bit disconnected. World Vision had about 1,400 people that day that were running for the same purpose of raising money for water. And I knew about 2 or 3 of those people. So we gathered into a big tent setting like this, and we had to fill out a shirt, and you put your name really big across the chest, and I just obviously just put Jeff. By the way, I'm Jeff Kozack. Forgot to say that. Then we did something super profound. The director of that group had everybody stand hand in hand, and we sang the first verse of Amazing Grace together at the top of our lungs, whether or not you could sing or not. And I think we're going to do that today to kind of kick off the connectedness of this weekend. So why don't you stand, grab your neighbor's hand. I think we all know that first verse. And this, I'm not talking about lip syncing, I'm talking about belting this out together before the Lord. Who's got the best,
I gotta get by somebody that can't sing.
who's got the best voice? Right here, who's this? Tom? Come on, I want you to help me lead it. You ready? Amazing grace, how sweet
record license, buddy.
Record deal? Okay. So this is it, marathon day. We show up, we are then carted to these corrals of people, and it's all depending on your race pace. So now I'm connecting with this group of people. I look around and this batch of 300-400 people all run the same time as I do. But I don't know any of these people. And I find myself wondering, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Am I going to be stretching? Should I be taking off some of these clothes because it's going to be hot at some point when I heat up and start running? Should I go pee? Should I eat something? Should I drink something? I had no idea what to do because I didn't train with anybody, and I had no clue as to how to begin this journey of this marathon. It's 26.2 miles. As we do that, we get running to the start line. I am like 4 or 5 blocks away before we even get to the start line, and there's 40,000 people running the marathon that day. So you go in like little phases to get up to the starting line. And it was cool, it was super exciting getting across the start line and beginning the journey of seeing if this is gonna pay off and if I'm gonna make it. So at the 5 mile mark, sure enough, I have to pee. And apparently a lot of other people did as well. They have like these little offshoot things where there's a big bank of porta potties. I'm like, oh, porta potty. And I go running over there, 20 porta potties, 20 people deep in line. So now, that's 15-minute delay on my overall time right off the bat from having to do that. And now I'm put into a batch of people that, again, I don't know. I'm running alongside of more people that I've talked to, and I have no idea who they are. So we're getting through this thing together. At mile marker 7, about 8-9 people in front of me, this dude drops with a heart attack. And it was super freaky. Some people are just bolting past them because they wanted to keep their pace. All the paramedics rush in, they're attending to the guy. I stop and say a quick prayer, and I get running, but then I'm doubting, did I train enough for this? Am I gonna drop down at some point during this race? Like, you know, I'm 40, at the time I was 45 years old, doing this, not knowing if I trained properly, seeing a guy have a heart attack, all this doubt in my head, and you just keep pressing on. I didn't stop. Once in a while, as you're running those things, you're still feeling disconnected. You're surrounded by 40,000 people. There's 1 million people in the streets cheering and laughing and having a good time at the marathon. And once in a while, you hear somebody from the street side just say, "I see you, Jeff." And I don't know who they are. You just hear that because you got your big name on there. There was a purpose of having your name and being able to tell who you are. And every now and then somebody would do the, what's the movie? 21 Drum Street. They'd be like, "My name's Jeff." And they'd yell that from the crowd. So it was like very, you know, I was connecting with people here and there throughout the race. But again, long stretches would go by. And at some point, I noticed there was a dashed blue line painted on the street in Chicago. And I worked there downtown, so I knew that was like the city workers put that there so that they could set up the boundaries between people watching and people running. And this was like their guide for that throughout the street. 5 miles left into the race. I felt like I could be walking faster than I was actually running, I guess you'd call it. But the cheering was louder, the encouraging was louder, the yelling of the name was louder. At some point I see my wife, and as we got closer, all of that just became pretty awesome, that you're really finishing something that you started like that. I'm finishing, I committed to this, and as I crossed the finish line, I looked at the time that was registered above as you run through there. I stopped my phone app and kind of compared the times, and something did not jive whatsoever. I knew I pushed start at the same time I crossed the starting line, and on my phone, it says that I have ran 27.75 miles. But a marathon is 26.2 miles. So somehow I ran an extra mile and a half that I didn't even need to do. And what I figured out was that blue line that was on the ground, if you were to run on top of that blue line, that's exactly 26.2 miles. Had somebody told me that, I would have been more attentive to that. Because as you're running with 400 people around a giant curve in Chicago, trying to get around to the next street, all those little extra steps outside of the line that was placed before you, you didn't have to take. If I would have stayed on the path in front of me, I would have saved myself an extra mile and a half of running that I didn't have to do. Had I ran the race training with others, I would have knew that, and I would have finished a lot sooner. I should have been done already when I was feeling like I could be walking faster than I'm running. So the encouragement part, God kind of showed me that encouragement is a big deal. It helps you through times where you're stressed, where you're doubt-filled, where you're anxious, where you feel like you're unprepared, where you feel like you're worth less than or not worthy. And encouragement pushes you in and past all of that. So having that lesson of encouragement, I want to fast forward to some social media stuff that I encountered. And my good buddy, Michael Dixon, who is here, had a post a while ago that he needed to take a break from his ministry, and he said he had a plea, and it really registered in my heart. He said that some things are going on in his life. They wanted to kind of recalculate everything. Him and his wife are having a new baby, and they're trying to get all this worked out. And as I listened to that, you know how sometimes you see things one time and it just sticks with you? Well, that post kept showing up and kept showing up, and I said to myself, I am literally an hour and a half to 2 hours away from where Michael does his deal, his skate ministry up in Wadsworth, Illinois. And what would it have looked like if I would have had a better relationship and been better connected with Michael? Emmy, where you at, Emmy? Emmy's here. Emmy is 2 hours from him. Yet nobody's connected enough to say, let's come alongside this dude. Let's try to see where we can fit in and not hit the pause button. We did take a trip up and visit Michael and his wife and their crew out there, and it's super fun. Good group of guys, and I just feel it's important for a weekend like this that we connect to the point where we value each other, we see what each other has going on, we know about the ministry that you are all doing, and where can we come alongside you with encouragement? Because encouragement is super important, that we don't go things alone. I gotta find note number 5. So anyway, if we were able to come alongside him, encourage him, build in him, and lift him up, what would that have looked like? Would there have been a pause button for his ministry, a time where nothing was happening? I wish I could have stepped in sooner and more. And as I heard his story, it brought me to this next scripture, which I want you all to turn to as well. And that is in Exodus 17. And we're going to go 9 through 12. Exodus 17, 9 through 12. And these free Bibles that are in your bags are very small print, and I have very old eyes. So I'm going to try my best here. It says, Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone, put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekites' army with the sword. So in verse 12, it says they took a stone and they put it under Moses for him to rest, to sit. Sometimes we see a need, and it's kind of easy just to say, I'll pray for you, man. Or maybe we just throw a few bucks that way, and that's our contribution toward helping. But when I read that they put a stone under him, that's telling me that that's like saying, Moses, we are going to be here for a while, and we're going to do whatever it takes. And we want to be part of this. We want to help you. We want the victory, and we want it for you, and we want it for God. And that is the commitment. It's not just a quick encouragement or a quick thought. It's that we're in it for the long haul for somebody else. Then it says that Aaron and Hur held up his hands. Moses was exhausted physically, mentally, and he's drained. Yet he was sustained by two companions, two friends. And what was the result? The result was victory. So we need each other. Isn't that right? Amen?
Amen.
We need each other. So I want you all to use this weekend to be connected, to encourage someone else. Find some Pauls, find some Timothys that you can build into and be built into. And then be thinking about who is your Aaron and Hur, who can come alongside you, who's close by that you could be that person too. How are you doing in your race? How are you doing personally on the path in front of you? And are you running alone? So those are some of the thoughts I want to talk about. And as the worship team here, guys ready to, why don't you start heading up here? I'll wind down here. So Tristan asked me that it would be kind of cool to find out what's the mileage that the longest somebody came in from today. How far did somebody travel to get here? We'll start the bidding at 100 miles. 100 miles for Michael. Anybody higher? What do you got? 630. 630 miles away. Standing by. 1,200. 1,200? 1,200 miles. 1,524 miles. Wow. I don't think you can even get there from here. 1,524 miles. Think about that. How long did that take? A 3-day drive just to come here and be with you, be with us. Dude, that guy is pulling up a chair for you. That guy came and said, I'm here with you all. This is cool. You're in the band? Wow. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Let's stand and greet each other. And as we get ready to worship with song this morning, I want everybody to do this with a full send of praise. Amen?
Good morning. Yeah. Hiya. Good morning. Good morning.
Brother, you filming this all?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
Hi.
Did you good? You